Okay, so this is a bit of an amateurish view of Elegant Gypsy, which is a CS40, actually 39 foot 10 inches, a 9.5 ton fin-keeled vessel. The emphasis of this video will be on perhaps the more distinct features of this boat, because obviously it's a particular type of boat that's going to interest people for particular features that other boats may not have. Firstly, the rigging, both in terms of mast diameter and the newly replaced stainless steel shrouds, are oversized. The CS40 design had both a racing version and a cruising version. The cruising version has a slightly smaller length of mast and slightly smaller sail area. Other features of the hull, which I can't show you as my phone's not waterproof, are the winged keel, which has a number of advantages, including, of course, being shoal draft. As a 40-foot boat, Elegant Gypsy draws 1.65 metres. The racing keel from the racing version, the keel's about 2.2 metres, so there's more than half a metre difference, which is ideal for crossing bars, getting in close to beaches and so on. The other distinguishing feature of the hull section is being an IOR design. There are flat sections under the mast, and what that means is the vessel's very fast, particularly downwind. I think Jessica Watson completed her trip from Noumea to Brisbane in 4 days, obviously with decent trade winds, but she certainly sailed very well downwind. Another unique feature that I really like is this cabin box over the companionway. It's part of the bimini, but again, it's very difficult to see through biminis, and particularly in a sea or bad weather, sitting in the companionway in this box which closes up is an ideal way of sailing the vessel while it's under self-steering. Obviously, solar panels and wind are not unique in themselves, although I guess having both on a vessel is relatively unique, and in that regard the generating power of the solars is about 300 watts, and the aptly named silent wind, a lot of things are not called what they should be, they're the opposite of what they are, but certainly the silent wind generator is very quiet and generates again 300 watts of power. The self-steering, it has both a hydraulic ram self-steering, which is much superior to the electric belt-driven ones which normally attached to the steering wheel, whereas this one is a proper heavy-duty ram that's just had its seals replaced, that is down below and directly controls the quadrant of the boat. That makes the vessel far more, the self-steer far more capable in strong conditions and heavy winds. Strangely enough, despite being a computer, nothing steers this vessel better than the wind vane at the back here, which again obviously doesn't use any power as well. So typically when sailing, the monitor wind vane would be what we would use sailing. The cockpit is large. The vessel actually has up to 7 berths, and the cockpit is capable of holding that many people. Why you'd want to sail with 7 people unless you got on with them really well is beyond me. If we go down the companionway, as I said, this is the box which is ideal for shielding you from the weather if you're on watch, which then leads down into the companionway. A relatively unique feature of this vessel is the galley. I mean, I guess every boat has a galley, but what is unique about this is this could be better described as a kitchen with its huge size. For somebody who likes eating and or cooking for that matter, it's a very impressive galley. Some of the unique features, for example, are the waste disposal. Instead of having a bin inboard, you've got a chute for which the garbage goes down. The pantry, again, instead of rummaging through drawers or cupboards, a sort of slide out drawers makes it very easy to store and find a large amount of food. The refrigerator is not a eutectic. A lot of boats have eutectics and can only effectively run when the engine's running. This is a Danfoss compressor fridge. It's large in size, but it's also powerful enough to freeze things, such as keeping your ice cream cool and your ice cubes and so on. And it's quite large, as you can see. The stove and oven is gimbaled. I've previously cooked bread while at sea, and it's very comfortable leaning up against the engine box here when at sea. The storage capacity is huge, with pots and pans and heaps of storage space throughout, so you don't go short in terms of pots and pans and all cooking stuff. You've got dual large sinks, which have both a manual pump as well as pressurized hot and cold water, and it also has a manual pump in case the electric pump failed. The vessel holds 300 litres of water in 2 tanks underneath the settee berths. The electronics have recently been upgraded. This B&G Vulcan 9 is brilliant insofar as it actually has Wi-Fi, so both for updating the map files, but more importantly it will broadcast so that you can have repeater stations. You'll notice at the helmet there's no plotter, but if you have a tablet or a phone, there's an Android app which allows you to both view and control the plotter as a remote station, which is much better than having your plotter on deck where it's exposed to the elements. It also has recently had a transponder, an AIS transponder fitted, which again, sailing anywhere is useful. It's particularly useful in Sydney because the rapidly moving Manly ferries can actually see where you are via AIS and how you're going to cross. The main cabin is to the rear. There is only one rear cabin. There is a locker on the other side that's an immense size, so again as a cruising boat it allows you to carry all your spare sails, drogues, sea anchors, water and so on in that locker. You've got the computer for the electric auto helm in here, instrumentation from the cockpit. There is the regulator for the solar and wind generator, which actually again has Bluetooth associated with it, so you can actually monitor your power usage and power coming in from your phone or a tablet. So you've got 2 berths here. You have access to the engine here, ample storage space here with drawers here, cupboard there, cupboard there. In this cupboard there is both a 12 volt charger for recharging the batteries if you've got shore power, and also an inverter so you can use 240 volt power. One unique feature is this hidey hole here. It looks like a shelf, but in fact it's a hidden compartment, so if you're into transporting cocaine from South America, or at least keeping your keys and valuables safe, that's a valuable little hidey hole. There are the settee represents 2 berths, although the one on the port side actually slides out to provide a double berth. And there's lee cloths underneath, so as sea berths you'd ordinarily occupy these. There is stereo, VHF radio, switchboard, an old-fashioned but excellent radar unit, and it has an HF radio, and while they're less in use these days, they are required for things like ARC and other rallies as a means of communication. Don't ask me how to use it. Another unique feature for colder climates is this diesel heater. There's actually a hose that comes from the fuel tank, and it's very effective both in cold weather and also for drying out the vessel. Forward cabin, a bit messy in here, but again there's 2 further berths in here, and the head is spacious with sink, recently installed electric macerating toilet, exhaust fan and hatch, and extensive cupboard spaces behind the mirrors. So that effectively is the main aspect of Elegant Gypsy. Other unique features are we have fitted a 3G, 4G antenna at the top of the mast, so the range we get for our internet connections, whether it be for weather, running apps, or watching Netflix movies. We've got a 3G, 4G antenna at the top of the mast, which is wired down to the bottom of the mast.